In the Rajshahi district of Bangladesh, there was a soldier, a man who fell in love with a mysterious, beautiful woman, and secretly, he married her. But just a few months later, that woman suddenly disappeared. The door of the room was locked from the inside. No one saw her leave, no one heard anything. But his colleague looked through the window, and what he saw froze him in fear. Inside the room, there was a massive snake. Months later, a spiritual practitioner revealed the truth. The woman he had married was not human. She was a Jinn who had loved him since his childhood. Hello viewers, wherever you are watching this video from, on behalf of Dark Truth Stories, welcome. Today, we are about to hear a terrifying, mysterious, and deeply emotional true story. This story happened in the life of a soldier from Rajshahi, Bangladesh, Muhammad Mujahid Islam. So, let's begin. Dear viewers, peace be upon you. Today, I am going to share with you a strange, terrifying, and real-life story that took place in the life of a man from the Rajshahi district of Bangladesh. The main character of this story is Muhammad Mujahid Islam. He is a resident of Rajshahi, Bangladesh. There were certain events in his life that may sound unbelievable to many, but Mujahid Islam claims every single one of these incidents truly happened to him. Mujahid came from a large family. His family included his father, his mother, his grandparents, and 3 sisters, and he was the only son. In total, 3 sisters and 1 brother. Mujahid's father was a businessman. He owned a business in Rajshahi city. Not only that, they also had their own house in the city. But the surprising part was, they didn't live there. They preferred living in the village, away from the noise of the city. So the city house was rented out, and they lived permanently in the village. The strange events in Mujahid's life began when he was very young. On cold winter mornings, he would often be laid down in the courtyard on a blanket. He was just a child back then. He doesn't remember any of it. But as he grew older, he heard something strange from his grandmother. She told him, whenever he was left in the courtyard, many people would see a snake sitting beside his head. But strangely, whenever someone tried to go closer, the snake would disappear. Many times, his mother would see from a distance a snake sitting beside her little son. Terrified, she would scream and call others. His father would rush in, only to find there was no snake. Mujahid was lying there alone. This didn't happen once or twice. Almost everyone in the family had witnessed this at some point. Sometimes the snake was seen near his head, sometimes near his feet, and sometimes beside his body. But every single time someone tried to approach, the snake vanished. Because of these strange events, Mujahid's mother became deeply worried. She started taking him to different healers and religious figures. Many gave different explanations. Some said, jinns can sometimes take the form of snakes. One healer said something that frightened her even more. He said, "The force attached to your son, if I try to treat it, I may lose my own spiritual power." However, most people didn't take it too seriously. They would say, "There's nothing to worry about." At one point, his parents took him to the famous Ajmer Sharif shrine in India. There, a spiritual leader spoke to his mother. He said, "Your son is born with great fortune. He will grow up to be a good man." But he also gave a condition. He said, "Make sure he is educated in the path of religion." His mother agreed at the time, but later, that promise was not kept. After some time, his father reminded her of that promise, but she refused. She said, "I will not send my only son to a madrasa. I want him to study in general education and become something great in life." Eventually, Mujahid was admitted to a regular school. From a young age, he was very good in his studies. Many children cry when they are told to study, but Mujahid was the opposite. If he wasn't allowed to study, he would cry himself. His mother and sisters would often joke, "This boy is like someone from another world." And just like that, Mujahid continued to grow up. He was polite, respectful, and well-liked by everyone. And as he continued his studies, he eventually reached his SSC examination period. But right then, his life began to take an even stranger turn. The strange events in Mujahid's life became even clearer after his SSC examination. After the exams, one day Mujahid went to visit his maternal grandparents' house. It wasn't very far. It was in a nearby village. There, he saw one of his cousins preparing for the army recruitment test. His cousin said to him, "I'm going to take the army exam. Come with me." Mujahid then said to his mother, "Mom, if I go, I'll take the exam too." But at first, his mother refused. She said, "You're going to join the army? No, you don't need to go." But Mujahid insisted. In the end, he took his certificates and went with his cousin to take the army recruitment test. And then, something unexpected happened. His cousin failed the exam, but Mujahid got selected. When he returned home and shared the news, his mother became very upset. She said, "I will not let you join the army. I want you to become a doctor or an engineer." But then, Mujahid's grandmother supported him. She said to his mother, "The boy has been selected for the army. This is something to be proud of. Let him go." After a lot of discussion, his mother finally agreed. And that's how Mujahid's army life began. Army training is extremely tough. Only those who have gone through it truly understand. Many recruits couldn't handle it. Some even ran away. Some climbed walls and escaped. But Mujahid never ran. He endured everything and completed his training. After training, his first posting was in Rangamati. A few days later, he was transferred to Dhaka. Everything in his life was going smoothly. Then one day, he got a 3-month leave. He decided to travel with his family, and their destination was Cox's Bazar Beach. That night, sitting by the sea, Mujahid felt peaceful. It was very late. His mother said, "Let's go back to the hotel now." But Mujahid replied, "You all go ahead. I'll come later." His family returned to the hotel, and Mujahid stayed behind, alone by the sea. It was deep into the night. The only sound was the waves crashing. And then, something happened. Mujahid suddenly saw a woman in a white dress standing in front of him. Without saying a word, she threw a piece of paper toward him, and within seconds, she disappeared. Mujahid was shocked. He picked up the paper and opened it. There was a phone number written on it, and below the number, a small line in Arabic. There was another man sitting nearby. Mujahid said to him, "A girl just came and gave me this number." The man replied in surprise, "I didn't see anyone. Girls like that are not good. Throw that number away." But Mujahid didn't throw it away. He kept it in his pocket. That very night, he tried calling the number, but no one answered. The next day, he spent time with his family. That night, when he returned to the beach, he remembered the number again. He tried calling again, but still, no one answered. A few days later, Mujahid returned to his workplace, and then one night, suddenly, his phone rang. He looked at the number and was shocked. It was the same number. Mujahid answered the call. From the other side, a soft, sweet female voice spoke. "Hello?" Mujahid replied, "Assalamu alaikum." The girl responded, "Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?" Mujahid asked in surprise, "Who are you?" The girl laughed softly and said, "Don't you recognize me? Or do I need to introduce myself?" At that moment, Mujahid realized this was the same girl who had given him the number at Cox's Bazar. Her voice was so sweet that Mujahid slowly began to feel drawn to her. From that night on, they started talking on the phone. Almost every night, she would call him. But there was something strange. Whenever Mujahid tried to call her, the call wouldn't go through. But when she called him, they could talk normally. Slowly, a relationship began to grow between them. One day, the girl told him her name. She said her name was Irene, and she was from Chittagong. As time passed, the relationship between Mujahid and Irene began to grow deeper. They talked on the phone almost every day. Irene's voice was incredibly sweet. So sweet that Mujahid slowly became deeply attached to her. One day, Mujahid said to her, "Irene, we've been talking for so long. Can we meet? Just once?" But Irene always avoided the question. She would say, "Why do we need to meet? We're already talking." But a question kept circling in Mujahid's mind. Why didn't Irene want to meet him? And like this, 4 to 5 months passed. Then one day, slightly frustrated, Mujahid said, "If you don't meet me, I won't talk to you anymore." After a moment of silence, Irene replied, "All right, I'll meet you. But there's one condition." Mujahid asked, "What condition?" Irene said, "Wherever I tell you to come, you must come there." Mujahid paused for a moment, but in the end, he agreed. He said, "Okay, I'll come." Then Mujahid went to the place she told him, but when he arrived, he was surprised. Irene wasn't there. He called her and said, "Where are you? I'm already here." Irene replied, "I'm not coming. I left a gift for you. Take it." Mujahid looked around and saw a small box. He picked it up and opened it. Inside, there was a chain and a pendant. The moment he touched the chain, he felt a strange sensation run through his body. Surprised, he asked, "Irene, what is this?" She replied, "It's a gift from me. Wear it around your neck." Mujahid hesitated. He asked again, "Should I really wear it?" Irene said, "Yes, but remember one thing. Don't tell anyone about it." Following her words, Mujahid wore the chain. Then Irene said, "One day, I will meet you. For now, go home." That day, he never saw her. But still, he continued to wear the chain all the time. And something strange happened. Even though many people saw the chain, no one ever asked him about it. A few days later, Irene called him again. She said, "Today, we will meet." And that day, for the first time, Mujahid saw Irene face to face. And the moment he saw her, he was speechless. Because in his entire life, he had never seen someone so beautiful. Her beauty was so unusual that he couldn't even speak for a moment. After a while, Mujahid asked, "Why did you wait so long to meet me?" Irene replied, "I wanted the attraction between us to grow stronger." From that point on, they began meeting occasionally. But something always felt strange. Irene never allowed Mujahid to touch her. Eventually, Mujahid said to her, "I want to marry you." Hearing this, Irene remained silent for a moment. Then she said slowly, "I will marry you, but in secret." Mujahid asked in surprise, "Why in secret?" Irene replied, "No one can know about our marriage. Not your family, not mine." Mujahid asked, "How will we get married?" Irene said, "I will bring a religious man. We will recite the vows and get married." Mujahid felt this might be a wrong decision, but by then, he couldn't walk away from her. His attachment had grown too deep. In the end, he agreed. He said, "Okay, I agree." Then Irene told him, "You need to rent a house. We will live there." Mujahid started looking for a place, but even after many days, he couldn't find a suitable house. One day, Irene gave him an address herself. She said, "Rent this house." When Mujahid went there, he saw a newly built building. There weren't many houses nearby. He decided to rent that place. And then, one night, Irene finally came there. She wasn't alone. A religious man came with her. And that very night, Mujahid and Irene got married, in secret. After their secret marriage, Mujahid and Irene started living together in that rented apartment. According to Mujahid, that night was one of the strangest nights of his life. Because at that moment, he felt like everything in his life had finally fallen into place. Irene lived with him very quietly, but there was something that always felt strange. She never cooked. Instead, she would always say, "I don't know how to cook. You'll have to bring food from outside." Mujahid followed her words. He always brought food from outside. Irene especially loved sweets. She would often say, "Bring sweets for me." And almost every day, Mujahid brought sweets for her. This is how their life slowly went on. Mujahid was often away for work, but from time to time, he would return home to see Irene. One day, after being away for 2 days, Mujahid returned home. And when he entered, he saw Irene was very sick. She couldn't even get up from the bed. Mujahid asked her, "What happened to you? Why are you so sick?" Irene replied, "It's nothing. I'll be fine." That day, Mujahid had an important meeting, so he couldn't stay long. Before leaving for the office, he told one of his employees, "Go to my apartment. I left something there, bring it back." The employee's name was Ebadullah. Ebadullah went to Mujahid's apartment, but after a long time, he didn't return. Mujahid tried calling him, but his phone was off. After some time, Ebadullah finally returned, but when Mujahid saw him, he was shocked. His face had turned pale. He was trembling with fear. His eyes were wide open. Mujahid asked, "What happened? Why are you so scared?" Ebadullah replied, "Sir, I'm going to die." Mujahid said, "Tell me what happened." Ebadullah began, "Sir, I went to your apartment. I knocked on the door for a long time, but no one opened it. Then, I looked inside through the window." Mujahid asked, "And then?" Ebadullah said, trembling, "Sir, I have never seen such a huge snake in my life. Inside the room, there was a massive snake. Its eyes were glowing red, and it was staring at me." Hearing this, Mujahid was shocked at first, but he tried to convince himself maybe Ebadullah was mistaken. So he decided to go there himself. He reached the apartment and knocked on the door. "Irene, open the door." No response. He called again. Still, no answer. Now he became slightly angry. He started banging on the door, but even then, it didn't open. Then, he went to the back window and looked inside. But there was no one inside. The room was empty. This made him even more confused, because the door was locked from the inside. He called the neighbors. Together, they broke the door and entered the apartment. Inside, everything was in place. Irene's clothes were there. Her shoes were there. Everything was there. But Irene was gone. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Mujahid searched for her everywhere, but he couldn't find her. Day after day, he kept searching. But Irene seemed to have disappeared from the world itself. After this incident, his life began to fall apart. He couldn't focus on his work anymore. He kept receiving warnings from his office. And eventually, Mujahid was suspended from his job. After Irene disappeared, Mujahid's life fell completely apart. Day and night, he kept searching for her, but he couldn't find her anywhere. A few days later, his family came to know about everything. They brought him back home. His father said to him, What's done is done. Forget that girl. But Mujahid could not forget her. Time slowly passed. After a long while, his family began to talk about his marriage again. At first, he refused. But eventually, he agreed on one condition. He said, "I will marry a girl from Chittagong," because Irene was also from Chittagong. His family then found a girl through a matchmaker. They showed Mujahid her photo. The moment he saw it, he was stunned, because her face looked very similar to Irene, almost 60 to 70% alike. And the most shocking part, her name was also Irene. Her full name was Aziatul Irene. His family was very happy, and eventually they got married. On the night after the wedding, questions began to grow in Mujahid's mind. He asked his wife, "Do you have a twin sister?" She replied, "No." He asked again, "Is there anyone in your family who looks like you?" She said, "No, there's no one like that in our family." But still, his doubts didn't go away. A few days later, his former colleague, Ebadullah, told him, "Sir, I know a spiritual practitioner. You can talk to him if you want." Mujahid took the number and called him. He explained everything over the phone. After listening, the man asked, "Did she give you anything?" Mujahid replied, "Yes, she gave me a chain." The man asked again, "Do you still have it?" Mujahid said, "Yes." Then he said, "Bring your wife to me." Mujahid took his wife to the man. At first, she didn't want to go. "I don't believe in these things," but eventually, she agreed. That night, the man made them sit in front of him. Then he said, "Put the chain around your wife's neck." At first, she refused. She said, "Why should I wear something given by your old lover?" But finally, she agreed. The moment the chain touched her neck, her behavior changed. She went completely silent. Then, her body began to tremble. The man held her hand and asked, "What is your name?" Suddenly, a different voice came out from her mouth. "My name is Irene." He asked again, "Who are you?" "I am a Jinn." Hearing this, Mujahid sat there completely frozen. The man asked again, "Why did you come into his life?" The voice replied, "I loved him since his childhood. I watched him when he was just a child. But there was a talisman on his body. Because of that, I couldn't come close to him. So I gave him that chain, to break its effect." The man asked, "Then why did you leave him?" "Because his colleagues saw my true form. According to our rules, I had to leave." The man said, "Come back to him." "No, if I return to him, my kind will kill me." Then, the voice began to cry. "I truly loved him. That's why I arranged his marriage with someone who looks like me, so that he can live happily." Then, the man released her hand. Suddenly, Mujahid's wife returned to normal. "What happened? Why am I here?" She remembered nothing. The man took the chain, and Mujahid never saw it again. Today, Mujahid has 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. He now runs a business. His life is normal again. But whenever he remembers Irene, his eyes fill with tears. Because sometimes, love comes from places beyond human reach. Friends, this was a terrifying and mysterious true story from the Rajshahi district of Bangladesh. Let me know in the comments what you think about this story, and if you, or someone you know, has experienced any real-life horror, mysterious or supernatural event, you can share your story with us. Send your story to this email. If your story is truly mysterious, we may feature it on our Dark Truth Stories channel. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll meet again with another story from someone else's life. Until then, take care. Peace be upon you.